Is Sukuna about to be caught in the sure hit of Gojo's domain expansion? Let's talk about it. So chapter 227 of Jujutsu Kaisen ended in quite the cliffhanger, where Gojo was able to catch Sukuna's domain inside of his own barrier. And while we don't have full confirmation, a lot of people are expecting this is where Sukuna gets sniped by Unlimited Void. Because so far in this fight, even though Gojo's been getting pushed, nobody's really had an oh shit moment of them thinking they're going to die. Except for maybe right here, because the dialogue implies that Gojo thought he was about to die. At least until he realized that Sukuna's domain effect is not as oppressive as Unlimited Void. Because even if Sukuna is probably going to wiggle his way out of Gojo's domain, it's still a better effect than his Malevolent Shrine. At least if we're just directly comparing what we know about them. But besides this, it's been a whole lot of smiles and a whole lot of ugh. And on the note of Gojo and Sukuna's fight with each other, a lot of people think that Gojo is not trying to kill Sukuna, at least that's what I thought at the beginning as well. Or at the very least, he's not trying to kill him too hard, because I don't think he's coming back from a hollow purple into the face. Even though Sukuna can bring people back to life, I don't think he can do it without a head, so I would suggest keeping the head intact, Gojo. And I definitely understand where they're coming from, but we've also been told a lot that they can kill Sukuna and still bring Megami back. And with the recent news that JJK is not ending anytime soon, I'm not even sure if Sukuna is going to live through the fight, because he has a lot of ways to come back even if he dies. Because with these statements from Gege Akatame and the recent plot movement, I'm guessing there is a massive plot twist coming. And even though the series is in the quote-unquote wrapping up phase, we got into Gojo vs Sukuna so early that I'm really curious to see what major plot points and fights are set up from the events of this fight. Because really, Gojo vs Sukuna, this is the setup for the final arc of JJK. And I think that's pretty neat, because a lot of people thought that this whole fight was going to be the very end of JJK, where Gojo's going to come out and bop Sukuna over the head. But instead, it's a signal fire, and I think that's pretty awesome. Because Gege is really setting up the story in a position where the other characters will have their moment to shine once Gojo gets his. And on the topic of the Black Dwarf domain and the Unlimited Void catching Ryoma and Sukuna, I think it's only fair that Sukuna gets caught in Gojo's Void. This is an interaction people are dying to see. We already saw Gojo fight in Malevolent Shrine. I think it's only fair to see what can happen inside of Unlimited Void beyond what we've just seen so far. If Sukuna is able to imbue the sure hit of both Dismantle and Cleave when they are two separate abilities, I think it'd be pretty cool if we saw Gojo use things like a sure hit for his Hollow Purple, or maybe a brand new ability, because I just highly doubt the Brain Burst is going to be the way that Sukuna gets put down in the story. Don't get me wrong, Unlimited Void, a pretty awesome finisher, especially when he catches 3 special grades in it at once. By the end of last chapter, we see the Black Dwarf domain, and we've never seen a domain used like this before. And the more notable thing here is it says the density has increased. And while we don't have any full confirmation on what this does exactly, a lot of people think it is going to improve the sure hit of Gojo's domain. And I think that's pretty reasonable, especially if you take into consideration Binding Vows, because we see Binding Vows get formed in combat all the time, and I'm really hoping to see Gojo form one. Because Binding Vows are one of the most interesting things in JJK to me, because when you take into consideration the complexity of things like Limitless, and you add on the complexity of a Binding Vow and how you can form it within your own technique, and that really opens the door for endless creativity for the characters in the story, not just the author. And I've actually recently seen a lot of people talking about Sukuna's technique might just be this simplistic, overall not that powerful thing that is used to its absolute limit by Sukuna. And I like that a lot, because I am on record for saying that I think Limitless is the most overpowered technique we are probably going to see in the series overall. So if Sukuna is able to keep up by forming Binding Vows, by using Curse Energy efficiency and output to its maximum effectiveness, I think that would be a really cool way to have both of these characters on equal footing if one of their overall power levels is different on paper. Because this is just my opinion, but I don't think we really need anything more destructive than Yuki's Black Hole, so seeing some interesting utility going forward, I would love that. And people ask me all the time who I think will win between Gojo versus Sukuna, and the truth is, I have no fucking idea right now. I think regardless of who wins, Sukuna is going to survive in some shape or form, because Kashimo's stocks are through the roof right now, and he is ready. And even though they're going to plummet into the earth, even if he does a Might Guy, but before he gets turned into red mist, I want to at least be able to say that Hajime Kashimo absolutely slams Ryu, and Yuta, and Maki, and Kenjaku all at once with one lightning bolt, low diff. But before any of that happens, we have Gojo versus Sukuna, and I think this fight is about to pick up dramatically. And this next chapter is probably about to pop off because I think Sukuna is going to take a pretty major blow, or maybe the first truly major blow in this whole fight. Or at the very least, he's about to be forced to either use his technique or something he has not used before, like a hollow wicker basket or something. Can you imagine the disrespect of Gojo and Sukuna just simple domaining each other's domains? And I also want to touch on Yuta's comments on Gojo performing something overwhelming. This line could go nowhere, but Gojo is not the type of guy to let people know he's putting himself under strain. We see this in Hidden Inventory when Gojo is just frying his own brain with Limitless, and Geto pretty much comes up to him and says, "Gojo, are you alright? You've been using your Limitless 24/7, and he's like, "I'm fine." But in fact, he was very not fine, and even less fine here. So is Gojo going to hit his breaking point due to straining his own body? I think that lines up with a lot of previous statements about the 6 eyes and just Gojo's abilities in general, and that having to wear a blindfold and having to keep the RCT running 24/7, he's already under stress all the time. My personal headcanon is that Gojo's manic behavior is a byproduct of having the 6 eyes in the first place. This guy's brain is hyperactive in base, so I think we should keep an eye on this and Yuta's statements going forward, and it also could just be that Yuta doesn't want to be tapped in to fight Sukuna. There was a time where people thought that Yuta could fight Sukuna, but that time is long past, and this guy is getting bodied if he taps in. And I'm going to talk a little bit more here about the recent information that Jujutsu Kaisen is not ending anytime soon. So this makes me happy for a lot of reasons, and not just because I'm a content creator. There are a lot of stories I think that do go on too long, but Jujutsu Kaisen has so much left that it could tell. And the best part is that in the case of Jujutsu Kaisen, it is not just more story for the sake of more story. This is the time the story desperately needed. Shonen Jump cuts their stories short, especially their big series, all the time, and I think the worst example for me was Bleach. It really feels like Bleach and Naruto both got robbed of a proper ending. And of the recent series in Shonen Jump, I think that Jujutsu Kaisen has truly captured the whole world building aspect, the power systems that makes a shonen excellent. And of current battle manga that's out, this and One Punch Man are my favorites, so hearing it is not getting rushed, and that makes me happy. And as for the future of Jujutsu Kaisen, and more importantly, who will the final villain be, people are constantly in arguments about Kenjaku versus Sukuna and who the actual end villain is. And I always got the impression that they're both the end villains of this story, and it's not like one's going to completely punk the other one. Because Sukuna, he is very important to Yuji's arc, and Kenjaku, he's important just moving the plot in general. And recently I watched The Thing in 1982 again, and let's just say I am hyped for the merger now more than ever. Because really the merger creature just sounds like one giant assimilating cursed spirit thing monster. And since my fellow YouTubers have managed to get me completely on board the Kenjaku train, I am looking forward to all of his plot lines every week. And this one glorious panel of him showing up last chapter, that was a highlight for me. But that's just my opinion, and I want to hear yours. What do you think about Gojo's Unlimited Void catching Ryoma and Sukuna? Do you think Sukuna has a way out beyond something like the wheel, or do you think Gojo is just about to lose the domain clash again? Let me know in the comments below. And last week was a busy week for me, so I was only able to get out a spoiler review and not the full translations, but this week should be different, so look forward to that. And if you like Jujutsu Kaisen and content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.